The tension in the boardroom at Pinnacle Technologies was thick enough to cut with a knife as David Richardson paced behind the massive conference table. His expensive suit wrinkled from 3 sleepless nights. Around the table sat 30 of the company's most brilliant engineers, their laptops open, their faces etched with exhaustion and frustration. Coffee cups and energy drink cans littered the polished surface, evidence of the marathon troubleshooting session that had been going on for 72 hours straight. David stopped pacing and turned to face his team, his voice tight with barely controlled stress. "Gentlemen, ladies, we are officially out of time. The Meridian Industries demonstration is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. If we cannot solve this server connectivity issue by then, we lose a contract that could make or break this company." The problem was deceptively simple, yet seemingly impossible to solve. Pinnacle Technologies had developed a revolutionary cloud-based inventory management system that promised to transform how large corporations tracked their assets across multiple locations. The system worked flawlessly in their testing environment, but every time they tried to demonstrate it for potential clients, the servers would crash within minutes of going live. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the lead systems engineer, rubbed her tired eyes and spoke for the entire team. "David, we've checked every line of code, analyzed every server configuration, tested every possible scenario. The system architecture is sound, the hardware is top of the line, and the software passes every diagnostic test we can think of. But something is causing a cascade failure every single time we go live with real-world data loads." David's phone buzzed with another text from the Meridian Industries CEO, asking for confirmation that tomorrow's demonstration would proceed as planned. David had been avoiding those calls all day, knowing he had no good answers to give. His company's reputation, his employees' jobs, and his own financial future all depended on solving a problem that had stumped his most talented people. "Keep working," David said finally. "I don't care if you have to stay here all night. Find the solution. Find it before morning, or we're all looking for new jobs next week." The engineers turned back to their screens with renewed determination, though David could see the defeat in their eyes. They had tried everything they could think of, and they were running out of ideas. At exactly 4:30 in the afternoon, there was a soft knock on the boardroom door. David looked up irritably, ready to dismiss whoever was interrupting this critical work session. The door opened to reveal Amy Chen, a young woman in a bright red delivery uniform, carrying a stack of pizza boxes. "Pizza delivery for Pinnacle Technologies," Amy said cheerfully, seemingly oblivious to the tense atmosphere in the room. Somebody ordered 6 large pizzas with the works. David had forgotten about the food order he'd placed hours earlier. His team needed to eat, even if their world was falling apart around them. "Just set them on the side table," he said curtly. Already turning back to his laptop, Amy began arranging the pizza boxes on the indicated table. But David noticed she kept glancing toward the wall of monitors displaying their system diagnostics. The screens showed real-time data flows, server status indicators, and error logs that painted a picture of their technical nightmare in vivid detail. "Excuse me," Amy said hesitantly after a few moments. "I don't mean to interrupt, but are you guys having trouble with server overload during peak data processing?" The entire room fell silent. 30 brilliant engineers turned to stare at the pizza delivery girl who had just diagnosed their problem more accurately than some of their outside consultants. David blinked in surprise. "How could you possibly know that?" Amy blushed slightly but continued. "I'm sorry. I couldn't help but notice your diagnostic displays. I'm actually a computer science student at the university. I deliver pizza to pay for school, but I spend most of my free time working with distributed computing systems." Dr. Martinez leaned forward, intrigued despite her exhaustion. "What makes you think it's a peak load issue?" Amy pointed toward one of the monitors. "See those error spikes? They're happening in a very specific pattern about every 12 seconds. During your stress tests, that's not random. That's systematic. It looks like your load balancer is creating a bottleneck instead of distributing the workload evenly." David felt his pulse quicken. In 3 days of intensive analysis, None of his engineers had identified that specific pattern. Go on, he said. Amy moved closer to the monitors. Her initial shyness replaced by obvious excitement. About the technical challenge. Your system architecture is actually really elegant, but I think you might have a race condition in your server allocation algorithm. When multiple users try to access the database simultaneously, the load balancer is probably getting confused about which server to assign each request to. She paused, studying the scrolling data more carefully. See? Right, their server 3 is getting hammered, while servers 1 and 2 are sitting almost idle. That's not random distribution. That's a logic error in your routing protocol. The room was dead silent, except for the hum of computers and the distant sound of traffic from the street below. David looked around at his team of highly paid experts, all of whom were staring at Amy with expressions ranging from amazement to embarrassment. You're suggesting the problem isn't with our servers or our software, Dr. Martinez said slowly. You're saying it's with how we're directing traffic between them. Amy nodded eagerly. Exactly. Your individual components are working perfectly, but they're not communicating efficiently with each other. It's like having 3 perfectly good lanes on a highway but funneling all the traffic into just one of them. David's mind was racing. Can you show us what you mean? Amy glanced around nervously. I mean, I'm just a delivery girl. I'm sure your engineers have already considered. Please, David interrupted. Show us. Amy approached the nearest workstation, her fingers moving confidently across the keyboard as she pulled up the load, balancing configuration files. Within minutes, she had identified several lines of code that were causing the traffic routing problems his team had been unable to locate. Here's your issue, she said, highlighting a section of code on the screen. This conditional statement is creating a priority queue that defaults to server 3 whenever there's any ambiguity about resource allocation. So instead of true load balancing, you're getting preferential routing. That overloads one server while underutilizing the others. Dr. Martinez leaned over Amy's shoulder, studying the code with growing excitement. She's absolutely right. How did we miss this? Amy made a few quick modifications to the code, her changes elegant and precise. If you adjust this algorithm to use round allocation with real-time capacity monitoring, it should distribute the load evenly across all servers, regardless of simultaneous request volume. She hit the enter key, and immediately the diagnostic displays began showing different patterns. The error spikes disappeared, and the server loads began equalizing across all 3 machines. David watched the monitors in stunned silence, as his system began performing exactly as it was supposed to. After 3 days of failure, a pizza delivery girl had solved their problem in less than 15 minutes. Run the full stress test, David said quietly. For the next hour, they put the system through every possible scenario they could imagine. Multiple users, massive data loads, simultaneous queries from different locations, everything worked flawlessly. The servers hummed along smoothly, distributing the workload efficiently and maintaining perfect stability, even under extreme pressure. When the tests were complete, David turned to Amy, who was standing quietly by the pizza table looking slightly overwhelmed by what had just happened. Amy, he said, his voice filled with genuine respect. What's your full name? Amy Chen, she replied. I'm a senior at State University, majoring in computer science with a focus on distributed systems architecture. David smiled for the first time in 3 days. Amy Chen, how would you like a job? Not delivering pizza, real job. As a senior systems engineer with Pinnacle Technologies, Amy's eyes went wide. You're serious? I'm completely serious. You just saved my company, probably saved my career, and definitely impressed the hell out of me and my entire engineering team. Someone with your intuitive understanding of complex systems and your ability to see solutions that others miss, that's exactly what we need here. Amy looked around the room at the 30 engineers, who were now nodding and smiling at her, with genuine admiration and respect. What about school? I still have 1 semester left. We'll work around your class schedule, David said, and we'll pay for your remaining tuition as a signing bonus. Amy, Talent like yours doesn't come along very often. When it does, smart companies do whatever it takes to recognize and nurture it. Amy's smile was radiant as she looked at the monitors, still displaying the smoothly functioning system. She had repaired. Mr. Richardson, I accept your offer, but I have one condition. Name it. Can I still deliver the pizza sometimes? I've gotten pretty attached to some of my regular customers. David laughed, the sound echoing through the boardroom and releasing 3 days of accumulated tension. Amy, after what you've done today, you can deliver pizza, write code, or run the entire engineering department if you want to. Welcome to Pinnacle Technologies. As the engineering team gathered around Amy to congratulate her and learn more about her solution, David realized that sometimes the most extraordinary talent comes from the most unexpected places. Tomorrow's demonstration would be a triumph. But more importantly, his company had just acquired someone whose fresh perspective and brilliant problem-solving abilities would drive innovation for years to come.